Vaping is just as bad as smoking, or it could be possibly worse. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my public service announcement to those vapors or smokers out there who are considering vaping. Look, I think vaping is beneficial if you want to quit smoking. But once you lose your knack for cigarettes from vaping, I think you should wean yourself off the vape. Because essentially, e-cigarettes, vaping, you're doing the same thing. You're filling your lungs with pharmaceutical shit, with 5% of the same shit that's in the thing you used to quit smoking. That is dangerous. Now, you're going to probably see a lot of vapors on YouTube do videos laughing at statistics of studies that were already done in vaping of the possible dangers or worse dangers of vaping than compared to smoking. You'll see people like, this is a myth, it doesn't happen. You know what the similarities between vaping advertisements and smoking advertisements are? Shockingly similar. In the 1950s, the Flintstones, Frank Sinatra TV show, you name it. Shows in the 1950s says, oh, light up a Camel, light up a Lucky Strike, light up a Winston. The taste is incredible. Or something like, have a cigarette while watching Ed Sullivan. There were ads like that, okay? And what happened? Lung cancer, emphysema, COPD, heart attacks, right? Even though in the 1950s we were getting studies by doctors saying this shit's bad for you, it's gonna kill you. But now we're seeing the same thing with vaping. Oh, you'll see vaping commercials say, I could vape on an airplane. I vape here, I vape there. People don't go away from me because I don't smell bad anymore from cigarettes. Or you'll see stuff like, you're healthier with vaping. I don't get the urge to smoke a cigarette in the morning. That may be true, but still you're putting shit into your lungs, which is unhealthy. But the point is, you're seeing similar commercials for vaping as you do smoking. Look up old celebrity commercials for smoking. You'll see very creative Lucky Strikes commercials. You'll see the Marlboro Men commercials. In fact, Blue e-cigarette, BLU, the Blue e-cigarette commercial. Watch that commercial and compare it to Marlboro Country. Shockingly similar. Oh, it's a liberating vape from smoking. Your lungs can breathe freely again. Bullshit. It's good. It takes a long ass time for your lungs to heal from smoking, regardless if you go to vaping to quit it. If you cut cold turkey, which I know some people in my life have gone cold turkey from smoking, the amount of time it takes you were that smoker is the amount of time it will take for your lungs to completely heal from all that shit. If you're, let's say, a smoker for 10 years and you don't want to vape because you don't want to put any more shit into your lungs, which is understandable, it's going to take you a good 10 years for your lungs to go back to normal. But at the same time, though, if you go to vaping, you're still getting the nicotine. You're still putting shit into your lungs. You're not really doing anything except kicking the urge to have a cigarette. You still get the nicotine kick. You still feed your body the nicotine urge that it wants. You're not doing anything to help yourself relieve your body from true liberation because you're still feeding the body the urge for nicotine. Yes, I get it. They have cheesecake flavor, they have bubblegum flavor, they have cotton candy flavor, they have root beer faux flavor. I get it. There's so many different flavors to vaping, but instead of vaping a fake cigarette, which is essentially an electronic cigarette, you're still a cigarette smoker, but electronically with 95 of the stuff out of it. Yes, there's no combustion, but you're still putting shit into your lungs, which is unhealthy for you. But that's besides the point. Instead of having a vape flavored cheesecake, how about you actually have a slice of cheesecake? Because truth be told, once you quit smoking, your taste buds start to go back to normal. You gotta taste things again. Instead of having an overabundance of sweetener or overabundance of sweets in order to sensation on your taste buds. If you put out your last cigarette today, by tomorrow you should be able to eat popcorn without getting popcorn lung from vaping. Oh, yeah, that's another study that was done. Years or 11 years or 13 years that vaping has been popular already, scientists and doctors from Harvard and Yale, prestigious medical schools, may I need to remind people, who either vape because they were smokers or they vape because their friends do it, they found out that within 5 years of vaping, of constant vaping, chain vaping as they call it in their studies, just like chain smoking, you start to get a bad cough. Well, unlike smokers, get popcorn lung, which is essentially non-toxic COPD. Think about that. It's not toxic COPD. You have the symptoms of COPD, but without the carcinogens in your lungs, meaning you have the same cough a patient with COPD does. You have the same respiratory issues that a patient with COPD does. Vaping is not a safer alternative to smoking. It's just as bad. Now, look, I'm anti-smoking. So, yes, I might have a bias on some things, but for the most part, I remain objective. Yes, I will agree that if you want to quit smoking, but yet have the urge for nicotine, then you want to wean yourself off the nicotine, then stop it altogether, then yes, you would want to vape. But if you're a non-smoker like I am and you see your friends vape, don't do it, okay? Be grateful your lungs are clear. Be grateful you have good lungs. Be grateful that you have healthy lungs. And if you are a former secondhand smoker or a secondhand smoker, I've been around cigarette smoke all my life. I would be what you consider a secondhand smoker. Not that I wanted to be around cigarette smoke a good majority of my life. But here's the thing. I've, inhaled cigarette smoke with, even if I didn't want to, I've been around it. Okay? My lungs are clear. My lungs aren't affected by cigarette smoke anymore. Granted, I'm probably at risk like a lot of smokers in general because I've been around it. So I have a good chance of getting lung cancer or COPD in my future. Knock on wood, I don't. But my point still stands. Former secondhand smokers or secondhand smokers at that, we have, the possibility just as smokers or vapors at getting COPD or popcorn lung. And that's what I want to put out there. Is that, regardless if you smoke or not, we're all at the same risk for lung cancer. We're all at the same risk for COPD. And you could get COPD not from smoking. You could get it from using nasal spray a lot. You could get it from working in a mill or a factory that produces aluminum or any type of metal for trucks or factories. You could get COPD more than from just smoking, and in some rare cases, it's genetically, it's a genetic disease in some rare cases. But the point being is that when you vape, when you put 5% of the carcinogens or dangerous chemicals into your lungs, as you would find that 5% in the same things that you quit smoking, and you vape in a car with your children, you're putting your kids at risk. You're putting your kids at risk for them to breathe in this horrible shit, which is just as bad as cigarette smoke. So, in this case, do think of the children. If you know your children don't like you smoking, then quit. Find a way to quit. Nicotine patch or, vape, whatever. But once you lose the urge for nicotine, quit the vaping. The vape has done its job. It stopped you from smoking, gave you the nicotine kick, whatever. But stop the vaping. Because then your lungs will do the rest for you. You just gave it the helping hand. But I'm terrified, and I'm shocked actually at the amount of lies that a lot of young people in my age group are being told that vaping is a safer alternative to smoking. No, it isn't. You're still putting nicotine into your system. You're still giving your big tobacco industries at that the money, the revenue. You see Marlboro, Paul Mall, and all these people starting to get on the vaping bandwagon. You're giving them more money than ever. In fact, vaping is going to be triple the amount of what big tobacco is now in maybe 5 years. So you're still giving them money. You're still giving big tobacco the money that it wants. They're still converting vapors to smokers and vice versa. Yes, there are people who vaped and now smoke cigarettes because the vaping isn't enough nicotine for them. Nicotine is the addictive part. That's what keeps you hooked to smoking and vaping. I could say the same thing for caffeine. I'm addicted to caffeine. I am. I drink coffee and tea because of the caffeine. I drink soda because of the caffeine. I can get off the stuff. I can quit it. I've tried and I can't do it. I'm addicted to the caffeine. But I know the caffeine isn't going to kill me. I know I'm not going to get lung cancer from the caffeine. I know that regardless of how you put it, drinking coffee is safer than smoking a cigarette or vaping. Having one soda here and there is much better than putting a flavor of cherry soda in a vape machine and breathing in 5% of the same carcinogens that are in cigarettes, even though the e-cigarettes don't combust. My point being is that if you want to save your lungs from smoking, wean yourself off, either through nicotine or vaping originally, okay? Then after that, quit. But if you're a non-smoker like I am, which non-smokers are secondhand smokers, technically speaking, but if you're a non-smoker like I am, do yourself a favor. By your friends to start vaping, because chances are your lungs will thank you years later while you're in your 50s and 60s and while your friends deal with popcorn lung or possible COPD from vaping. All this pro-vaping is healthy alternative to smoking propaganda is nonsense. It's just as nonsensical as when you see those 1950s commercials by the Flintstones. Have a Winston while watching the Flintstones. Have a Lucky Strike while watching Ed Sullivan. Your lungs won't thank you for vaping. Your lungs will be much worse. Smoking is bad for your lungs, but vaping can possibly be much worse, as these studies have shown. And if vapors could get popcorn lung from vaping, as these studies have shown, just makes you think you might be in for lung cancer or COPD as well. So do yourself a favor. Don't vape if you're a non-smoker. And if you are a smoker, vape for a little bit so you could get the kick of cigarettes out of you and get the kick of nicotine out of you. But for those of you who are vaping and who are, you know, on this vape nation, just know you're doing your lungs a disservice. You know what? You know what it feels like to wake up in the morning and breathe without coughing up a lung? You know what it's like to go outside and breathe the fresh air without the urge to smell a cigarette smoke going through your nose or vape shit through your nose? That's true liberation. When you're not hooked to vaping or cigarettes, that's true liberation. That's true liberation from big tobacco. Oh, and while you're at it, I'd rather sniff a rose instead of sniffing an e-cigarette or an actual cigarette. A rose is much sweeter than e-cigarette shit and smoking clouds. I have a feeling vaping is going to be just as bad or even worse than cigarette smoking. Because if the cigarette companies can do ads saying, oh, try this alternative to smoking, they got you by the balls, brother. They got you by the balls. And what's even worse is you're buying into it. You're spending just as much money on vaping and nicotine liquid as you are buying cigarettes. If you want to save the money, don't vape. In fact, quit cold turkey. And if you feel the urge to smoke, pop in a piece of bubble gum. In fact, that's the safer alternative to quitting smoking, the true safe alternative. That's how Jon Stewart quit smoking. Jon Stewart used to smoke 2 packs a day until he realized, I could kick this habit. Every time I feel the urge to have a cigarette, I'll put it to my mouth. And he doesn't smoke anymore. And whenever he gets the urge still to have a cigarette, he pops a piece of gum into his mouth. And he's not talking about nicotine gum either. He's talking about juicy fruit, Mountain Fresh, you know, whatever. Pop something into your mouth, Altoids, you know, gum, candy, whatever. As long as it feeds the body the urge that you have something in your system. It doesn't have to be 5% of the same carcinogens in cigarettes that's in e-cigarettes. Anyway, that's my little rant. That's about this, but it's my opinion. I could be wrong. And that's it. See ya.